Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Today I'm joined by OffBeat Outlaw, which as always you can find links in the description to go check them out on all of the cool places. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've woken up for once before noon, which is a very strange thing because usually I sleep at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
because I have terrible sleep cycle, so it's great.
I know that feeling. Actually, doing these live chats regular is one of the things that makes my schedule at least a little bit because I have to get up and get things ready and be doing things beforehand, right?
Oh yeah.
So it gets me up for before noon for sure. Also
Fair
having
enough.
a puppy, right? I guess I don't know. Maybe she's a dog now. She's a year old, but the dog
If
has
it's
to go out in the morning.
if it's big enough that it will wake you up if it jumps on you, that's a dog. That's my measurement of a dog. If it's still too small that it has to like give like a good few hops, that's a puppy.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's like 50 pounds, 55 pounds. She's an armful, right? Pick her up. She's an armful.
That's getting to the size of dog.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is funny to look down. I'm like, look at you. You're a whole ass dog now, all stretched out.
As opposed to a half-ass dog.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I guess if you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell people what you do for those that are not familiar.
Okay, sure. Hi, I am OffBeat Outlaw. You can find me on YouTube and where I started TikTok, which is cringe. I understand. I make Dungeons and Dragons comedy skits and as well as other comedy skits, and I do power build reviews and making like really strong D&D characters and getting onto the more technical analytical side of Dungeons and Dragons, looking at the rules and trying to see what I can do with them. That's what I do, and I also stream.
They're loving your
Works
kitty cat ears.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, this is branding now. This is on brand for me now. I have to wear them. I also have Pit Viper Baja Blaster blue light glasses, which is only the second cringiest thing I own.
Oh my god, they're great.
I
You look like
look
you're ready to fight crime now.
I look like a 90s approximation of what a gamer is.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we were talking a little bit beforehand, and you had kind of like started on YouTube and kind of really found your feet on TikTok, which really drove your YouTube. And congratulations, you're doing awesome
Thank
over
you.
there. So you're one of the few people that really figured out how to make TikTok convert for you elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I have noticed that I have a really good transfer rate from TikTok to YouTube. There's another creator who's also doing Dungeons and Dragons who also came from TikTok and had a really good transfer rate. His name's One Shot Questers, and he and I chat every once in a while. And he's bigger than I am on YouTube right now, and as he was on TikTok as well. So like, but for some reason, it's the transferring from TikTok to YouTube was pretty. I wouldn't say easy for us, but it certainly went better than for a lot of people, I'd say, in terms of like transfer percentage, I guess.
Yeah, generally when you go from one platform to another, it doesn't do well. Like the biggest place where I often see it, and maybe just because Twitch has been around longer, is over on Twitch, where people are trying to like go from YouTube to Twitch or vice versa, and it just doesn't generally translate very well.
Yeah. I
People like
think
to
I
hang
think
out where they like to hang out.
yeah, it's people have more loyalty to the platform they use, which is strange. Like people watch what they watch, and like getting people to transfer over to YouTube, that was a process of like 3 months where I was like making like promo skits where I would like hide like a come to my YouTube just like in the video just like consistently, and that was like 3 month process of getting people over. It was like 10,000, like 50,000, and eventually at like 75,000 I was like full-time YouTube, and then I went back to TikTok because I was like I'm bored. So
Yeah. I really enjoy the D&D TikTok community. And also, I'm just impressed with anybody that can say anything in like 60 seconds or less.
fair enough. It's a mild gift, although cutting is definitely important.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like one of Nerder Doug had mentioned that there's this particular commenter has been trolling our videos for a while. And like it's like the same comment. You guys talk for 3 minutes, don't say anything. It's just to get your videos longer so you can put more mid-roll ads in there, and you're monetizing, and you have sponsors, and we're like, we get done shooting a video, and we're like, oh man, thank God that one was under 15 minutes. Then finally, like, it's like I don't know how any of you guys say anything in 60 minutes. And also though, like I noticed like some of these are getting longer access, right? Because it's a new TikTok feature or something. And I kind of get mad. I'm like, 3 minutes. I didn't come here for 3-minute content.
I've been given access to the 3-minute videos, and I don't want to use them because I'm like, if I have 3 minutes, I'm gonna put it on YouTube. I don't want to put it on this platform because, well, as a Canadian, TikTok does not pay me back. You know, there's no reciprocal relationship. It's just it's like a.
Does it pay anyone back? I don't think it pays anybody back, does it?
It pays Americans. Oh. Americans have the creator fund, which they can get. It's small. It's tiny. They're getting underpaid, but you can receive payment.
America.
But Canada ain't seeing anything. So I'm like, if it's 3 minutes, I'm just posting it on YouTube. I'm just gonna do that. You know. However, like. I will say that on TikTok, you say that people say things in under 60 seconds. They certainly talk.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot of value always, but
I get a kick out of it. And also, like, it's fun to see D&D content done in a different way, where you find like a lot of stuff that instead of trying to be informative, is just more entertaining, and hot takes. And like I was talking to someone else that was on from TikTok, and like it's fun to see like all the conversations that are happening that we had like in the beginning of our YouTube career, right? It's like the alignment, the metagaming, power gaming, like all of those things. But TikTok's like a new platform, so it's their time.
Yeah, the new ecosystems that have been forming is certainly very interesting. Like watching everybody have like those discourses.
But even before YouTube, right? There was the same fights they were having on forums, and before the internet, it was the same fights they were having at the counter of the game store.
Those who do not know history are destined to repeat it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And we're nerds. We just like to argue about this stuff.
Oh yeah. It's half of my day is arguing with people on forums about rules, or in the comments section about how the rules are.
So, how did you get started with YouTubing and creating content?
I started making content 2 years ago, on just making Let's Plays, and that was because I was working a retail job at a sock shop, and I had hours upon hours of time where there was no customers. This was not a very good position for the store. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I wish I could do anything except to sit here right now. So I got a capture card, recorded some gameplay with me talking over it, and I edited videos while I waited for customers. And that's how I started. And I did that for a year. Nothing really happened. And then last year, my girlfriend started doing TikTok. And she made a video that got like 500 views, which isn't a lot on TikTok, I've since learned. But on YouTube, I posted a video that day that took me 4 hours to make. I got 30 views. I was furious. I was like, how dare you? So I hopped on TikTok and I started making content. And I was like, oh, I actually like this. This is probably better.
I laugh because I so understand.
Yeah, it could be a little bit like, what am I doing? Why am I spending so much time?
Yeah. It is weird, and it takes a lot of time. Like our first 6 months on YouTube was just like crickets. Yeah. And if you want to, one of the things, if you want to be a content creator online, you need some intestinal fortitude, because chances are you're not going to be like one of these creators that takes off overnight, right? Like super rare. I mean, even at XP to level 3, like they still took a little while before they did take off, and when they did, they like skyrocketed. You know, Runesmith Logan, like his success seems like almost overnight, except for he was part of XP to level 3 first. And like, you know, when he started his channel, he started with like 25,000 subscribers. So like when you start, Yeah, like when you do something like that, the algorithm goes, "Oh, wait a minute, you must be important," and then they just start feeding your stuff. And also, those guys have good content. Obviously, you can't do any of that and be successful without
With
good
trash
content.
content.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like when you're talking about having that retail job, we had done like a collab for a while called Saver Dice with
Mhm.
Jacob from XP to Level 3, and like it was really exciting to like see his channel take off and him doing really well. And we'd be talking, he'd be like, "I'm just gonna do it. That's fun. I don't care that much." And I'd be like, "Jacob, you need a plan. You don't understand. Do you want to be pushing shopping carts at Target again?" We'd all like old man on him.
Fair. Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool to see this generation coming up. So, how has your gaming been during the apocalypse?
My gaming been online entirely, basically.
Yeah,
So
were you an online gamer before then, or in person?
I was online before because like I was in university for most of my time. Like my introduction to D&D was super brief. It was just like it was like a single one shot I did in college, and then like after that I wanted to play D&D more, but none of my friends were willing to learn the game. So I was like, and I lived far away from everybody, and then because like I went to university just like a little bit out of town, like it's a whole situation.
Yeah.
So I needed a way to still play games with them, but not be in the same room as them. So I started doing DMing on Discord, and that's how I've been ever since. I learned online how to dungeon master, and I think I've DM'd an in-person table game once for my family. That's it.
How'd that go over?
Not terrible. They didn't really get it, but
Yeah.
I think they had fun. They thought there was like a game to win because they hadn't really been introduced to like a TTRPG yet.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they thought there was like an aspect to win, and I was like, no, we're just telling a fun little story, guys. We're just having a good time. And they were like, how do we beat Outlaw? How do we get him?
Who
How
is
do we
the most
defeat this?"
competitive person at the table?
That would definitely be my mom and my brother's girlfriend.
Oh,
Easy
nice.
peasy.
Did they find a way to win D&D?
No, I'm sure they're still thinking about it. I'll let you know when they get there. My mom will definitely be thinking about how to win for forevermore.
Nice. So then the pandemic for you, as far as gaming, wasn't like a huge change.
Honestly, it made me play more games. It got me more games to DM and play because everyone was at home. So I was like, haha, friends. So
Yeah.
that was it.
So so Brian Smith in the chat is asking the hard hitting questions here. Does every streamer have to have shifting purple blue lights behind them? Is that a requirement?
Not necessarily, but I will say, so you may not notice this because of the purple blue lights, but I am pasty. I am a
Yeah.
fresh coat of white paint, because not only have I been inside for a long time, I am naturally like just a white picket fence.
Yeah.
But the blue lights make me not look like that. They get a little bit of color contrast. Watch what happens when I change these to white lights. It turns blue because that's just how white I am in comparison. And then if we do red lights, now I'm just too ominous, and I
kind of like that. I feel like something really bad's about to happen.
yeah, I feel very threatening, and that's not necessarily always the aura I'm trying to give. It
Yeah.
could be. I have done this once in a stream game when I do this when the big bad shows up. I'm like, hello everybody, and they're like, no.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Usually that's just the pure blue. I get purple because that was just my color that I chose for like the branding of my channel, and I just stuck with it. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
I totally get the pasty part, right? Like, I recently went back to the gym, and I'm like riding a recumbent bike, and I look down at my legs, and I'm like, wow, they are so white. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to hand out sunglasses for people around me.
I did a viral that went viral on TikTok where I was like, if I'm ever lost in the desert, and I just lifted up my belly, and it overexposed the camera. It was like ah, and it was just this bright glowing light, and I was like, I will never be lost. I'm visible from space.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, do you usually GM or are you usually a player?
I am usually a dungeon master, although I will say with all the streams I've been in, that's slowly been shifting more towards player. But I've mostly been a dungeon master my whole time. So
Yeah, becoming like any kind of like successful creator does open up a lot of doors as far as getting into games.
yeah, I think I've like I feel like if this keeps going on track, as long as my current DM stream that I'm DMing is gonna end probably in about like 3 months, I imagine, and then I'm gonna take a month break just so I can like recollect thoughts and make a new campaign. But it could eventually flip over during that month, just because I'm in a lot of games and a lot of streams right now for sure.
Okay.
So
Are you on streams on your Twitch or someone else's or?
largely other people's Twitch. Right now, my current schedule, how it's set up, the only thing I can do on my Twitch is stream the games that I DM.
Mhm.
And that's like, and I've got this, it's a big stream with a bunch of other with like other TikTok creators. It started with people who the game started because I wanted people who weren't on D&D TikTok to join D&D and like start getting acquainted with this community. And so all those creators were like large in their own right in other places. So that's like the only thing I really do on my channel currently. But then I DM a few home games as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a couple, at least one home game
Mm-hmm.
where you're not
I
like
think
where you don't have to feel like you're performing.
Yeah, you can just take the pressure off, and that I use it to test all of my terrible homebrew ideas.
Oh yeah,
And
nice.
it's I've got like level 12s, but they could easily kill level 20s at this point because I've given them so much garbage. I'm like, hey, have fun with this, and they're like, woo, candy, and their characters are nutty powerful, and I realize I've made a mistake. So
So with TikTok, then it sounds like you went in like feet first as a creator,
mhm.
and not so much as like a member of the community, kind of like hanging out over there.
Yeah, I've always like I started off that doing like went feet first as a creator because I have a diploma in acting and I've got a theater and drama studies degree. Like performing is what I love to do. So I was like, if I'm gonna use this app, I'm gonna use it to do the thing that I enjoy doing, which is acting and performing and making jokes.
Yeah.
So that I went in feet first, yeah, for sure. Just dove in as a creator, trying to see what would happen, making content on there. I didn't know
So
what content I'd make though. Yeah.
are you kind of like are you fully immersed in the community over there now? I'm pretty much just a lurker.
Yeah, fair enough. I would say that I'm pretty much immersed now. A large portion of my friend group now are people who I've met from D&D TikTok and like because of the way that the old Miss Rona has treated us, like that's the
Yeah.
only way I can really get a decent amount of social interaction. So it's like yeah, I'm definitely just like yeah, that's my group now. Those are my homies.
It's a good bunch over there.
Mm.
I like
Yeah,
it.
they're super sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, so our group is finally all vaccinated. So like we had our first in-person game last weekend. We got another one this weekend. So it's
Nice.
it's 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 good and also weird at the same time. Like when I finally went back to the gym, I felt like a groundhog emerging from their hole. And it's like, am I going to see my shadow and run back in? What's going to happen here?
Fair enough. I don't even know what I'm gonna do when I'm fully vaccinated. I feel like I'm good. I'm gonna be so scared. I'm gonna be like a little, like a groundhog, like you said. I'm just gonna be
Yeah.
like, it's too scary. Stay inside forever again.
Well, I mean, I'm not like super crazy with it. I'm like, I'm vaccinated. My family's vaccinated. Like, I won't be wearing any masks unless someone asks me to, or it's the whatever the requirements of that business. But I do find it weird when people are like vaccinated and they still want to wear 18 masks. So
I'll just do whatever the CDC guidelines are. I'm, I'm
yeah,
I'm over it. I just want this to be over so I
be
can
done.
never wear a mask again. Oh, if I've got to wear 300 masks now, if that means I never have to wear another one again, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it
Pile
as
them
quickly as
on.
possible. Yeah, just give me a scuba tank. Give me a scuba mask, an old 1950s diving suit. I'll wear
An
that.
astronaut
Yeah,
suit.
give me the pressurized water astronaut. I'll take it.
What what kind of content do you like to run in your games? Do you prefer the official pre-made stuff, homebrew?
I like my homebrew better. I feel like it's more in tune with with how my brain works as a result, and it gives and I feel like it allows me to get more of my sensibility and creativity out into the games, because like I've been a I really enjoy writing, and in college I would write plays and stuff, and I've directed musicals and stuff, so I like the being very much in control of this little space. So I find that sometimes with the official content, while they're certainly fun, I personally struggle to bring my own creative sensibilities to those as a result.
Oh no, Fry Minis is getting kind of saucy in the chat there. Thanks for the super chat. Dave put on some kitty cat ears, or at least purr for us. The world demands it. I do not have any kitty cat ears to put on, so that part isn't going to happen. There you go. There's your purr.
Yeah.
It's not about being a cat. I literally don't have them. So
That's the cowardice. You knew if you wore them. You knew if you got them that you would never be allowed to take them off.
oh yeah, I would just wear them forever. I'm just imagining the looks at Walmart. I'm like, what are you looking at? You're in your friggin' pajamas.
It's Walmart. Like, what? Take a shit on the floor. It's happened before.
Oh, so Ballad Boy says there has literally been one monster manual monster in your campaign.
That's Ballad Boy. He's my Discord moderator and also one of my players in my Monday campaign. I threw one monster manual monster at them the other day. It was fire elementals.
Yeah.
And they one shot a whole room of them with tidal wave, and I was like, that's it, never using monster manual again.
It's trash.
It's trash. I'm smarter. I'm better than Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I feel like I am sometimes. So
I often just reskin monsters and then they just don't know what they are, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, that's true. I've definitely been sneaky. Sometimes I'm like, this is the same thing as this, but I remove the fire damage. I remove the fire weakness. Easy.
I'm kind of like,
smart.
There's so many times that like I'm too lazy to make up a new monster, so I just have like 2 or 3 stat blocks up in different windows, and I'm just like, I'll use this from that, and this from that, and that from here.
And you're like, bullseye, monster time.
Monster time, perfect, and this just describes something ridiculous, and it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still like a fresh youngin in the fields of D&D, so I'm still got all this ambition.
Yeah.
Ideas, and I'm like, yeah, I'll homebrew everything. Oh, everything's mine. I feel like in a few years they're gonna be like, I don't know, it's a goblin.
Yeah, I mean, back in like the 3rd edition days, you'd be like sitting there at the table or on the floor, and you'd have like 15 different books open to different pages, and like, you know, like there were so many templates back then, so it's like you're making a monster and slapping on like every template you can find, and it takes you like 3 hours to make this one monster, and then like you said, your players come in and tidal wave it and just wipe it out in the first round. It's like, easy
like, wow,
come, easy
surprising,
go.
another one. Also not weak to water.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm lazy anymore. It's just after spending hours and hours of working on stuff, and then your players just like they'll just do something that totally invalidates it. So I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna just do whatever anyway. I'm just gonna make it up.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes as well. It's like one thing that I've started doing, because I've made so many like power builds, like really min-maxy characters. I've learned a lot about what the different characters can potentially do. So I've been able to build around like my players very well, so that like they have very specific ways that they can beat them, and that will allow me to be like, I always aim for about 2 to 3 rounds of combat. At 3 rounds being a maximum if it's just like a random encounter. Usually that should be done in 1, in my opinions. But it's like, if it's a boss, 5 turns, that could work. I try and figure out ways to pad that out so that everyone gets a chance to spend some abilities, take some damage, but at the same time, there have been a few moments where maybe an extra 0 or 2 was added onto a boss because I'm like, wow, that was a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's a shame that this just got a lot more health.
Yeah. By about that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Um, when you're playing, what kind of characters do you like to play?
When I'm playing, so I'm a talkative guy. I like chattering. So I
Yeah.
like playing people that allow me to be a chatterbox. However, I really enjoy the character creation aspect of Dungeons and Dragons in fifth edition. I haven't tried the other editions, so I can't speak on how good those were, but I can say I actually do enjoy the fifth edition. And I like making like builds that are built to do specific things. Like I have a one of my current characters is his name is Ziller O'Crack. He's a hexblade, blade singer, and a fighter.
Yeah.
And he's a genuine he's so much fun because he just does so much damage and he does so many attacks. But at the same time, his saving throws all suck. So he's this hilarious dichotomy of being both the heavy hitting Gatling gun of damage, but then also if he gets hit with a fireball, he may cry. So playing those characters, I think, gives me like a neat writing problem of how do I make all of these different classes fit in a backstory, and then that will inform my playing. So that has been my favorite part about when I role play. But as being an actor, I enjoy playing lots of characters. I can't say there's like a specific archetype of character that I like playing.
How much time and effort do you put into your backstory?
Backstory, depending on the character, it can be anywhere from a page to I usually go, if my DM would like it, I usually go about like a paragraph or two per level. How does that sound? And then if they say sure, then I'll write like a paragraph because I like the short story. I like writing short stories, so it could be a while
I,
if they ask.
I was running a one shot,
Mm.
and Ted hands me a 3-page backstory, and I handed it right back to him. I'm like, Ted, I refuse to read this. It's a it's a fucking one shot. You're never gonna see this character again.
If it's a one shot, I will. My guy's a farmer, and he showed up yesterday.
I mean, I'm if I write anything, I'll write like a paragraph. I like to actually develop the backstory during the game. And like nothing's really set in stone. It's just like if cool things are happening in the game, and I let that kind of influence, where the character goes and maybe where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
But also
Interesting.
for people that like to do like really long, elaborate backstories, I think that's cool as well. But just hand your GM the Cribs notes, right?
Yeah.
Don't give them a book to read.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hand my dungeon master like more than what's necessary. I'm not gonna be like, and so on this day, he went and he smelled the rain. The rain was important to his life for X and X reasons. I'm like, this is his dad. His dad's a barber. That's how he learned how to use knives.
Barbering, nice.
Barber-tearing.
So you said you like doing a lot of builds and optimization videos.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Yes, currently my favorite is that Hexblade Singer fighter character that I made. That's currently like my favorite character I've played and built because it's if I can talk boring math for a bit, it can burst damage, do 200
Uh-huh.
200 damage in a round, and then will consistently after that do 100 damage at level 11, which is, as far as I can tell, quite a lot because a champion fighter can do 100 in burst at level 20. So I'm like, I think this character's pretty good. And then with using wizard stuff, he can take a cat nap and then it's good to go because it relies on action surge and fighter abilities to do all that. So it's a really fun all day, like all adventure long build. And he's a bit like an action hero when you play him. He's just guns blazing, just eldritch blasting, swinging the sword, going nuts. So that's been my
Nice.
current favorite build. The build I was most proud of was one where it was a team strategy where you could do 2,000 damage in a single turn if you put every single buff onto one guy, and then a few debuffs on the opponent. You can do like 2,000 damage. I was like, what does that even mean? Like 500 damage health is how much a boat has. This guy can kill. Is this guy like 4 boats a turn? Is that what this guy can do? What does that mean?
Kill all the boats
Yeah.
everywhere.
Anti boatman.
What is the optimal level of Blade Singer?
Optimal level of Blade Singer. Depending on when if you're building for tier 2, like the level 11, then you should do 6 levels of Blade Singer. If you're building for level 20, you should, if you can, fit on 14, just so you can get that extra intelligence modifier to your weapon attacks, though it's not necessary. And it can be as long as you have at least above 6 levels, just so you can get its busted extra attack feature. That's what you really want, because that's the level where you can make a weapon attack and cast a cantrip as part of the same attack action, which is, I don't know why they did that, but they did it, and you can use it, and it's really good. So
I think as just a Blade Singer, it's really not that big a deal. It's when you start multi-classing.
Yeah, when you multi-class, it quickly becomes a moment of, oh, this is really good. This is superb. Because like if it's just a Blade Singer, then it's like, oh, you're using your weapon attack and booming blade, or weapon attack and green flame blade, and it's not that much. You should be casting. You're going to be casting more spells anyway as a wizard. But the second you start, once you multi-class into like something like a warlock, and you get Eldritch Blast, and then if you get Action Surge, and who knows, maybe you're insane and you decide to throw on Paladin. That's when it gets a problematic.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like the Blade Singer by itself is kind of weak. Like, I can see the potential with niche areas like multi-classing, but like when you compare a wizard of any other tradition to the Blade Singer, it's like their 10th level ability is junk.
Yeah, it's garbage.
And even that 14th level ability, I mean, you're going to get 2-3 attacks, so
it's
adding
questionable. Yeah,
it's like, I don't know, like you're a high level Blade Singer, right? You can go whack it with a stick, or you can cast Meteor Swarm.
Yeah, I think that's what it eventually becomes. It's like
or
I feel like,
Wish.
Yeah. I feel like with the Blade Singer, that's why I feel like its purpose was kind of to be slotted into a multi-class.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of weak. It's kind of bad, honestly, without multi-classing. But with multi-classing, I'd easily put it as one of the best wizards.
Well, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make a class do something they're not good at.
Yeah. It's like stepping on the toe. It's like it's not a melee fighter. It's not a fighter. Wizards are given the best spell list with the best spells with arcane recovery, so they can blast things to oblivion or banish them forever. You know, not to whack things with stick really good. That's my job.
So our first 5e campaign, we ran from 1st to 20th, and I played a War Wizard, Eldritch Knight, dwarf, and I think like mid game you do really well, and low game you do really well, but towards the end of mid level and the higher tiers, instantly like the fighters were much better at fighting, and the bard could outcast me, and not only that, right, like I had like cool tricks I could do, and it was fun. Like there is nothing more fun than casting Steelwind Strike and then action surging and doing it again, right?
It's great.
that is awesome. But and also like the character's like super tanky, and I it was so awesome when the GM was like, does a 32 hit you? I'm like, I cast shield, no. And you end up with like a ridiculous armor class. But what I found that would happen, inevitably when I did get hit, it was a crit. And guess what I had? Wizard hit points.
Yeah. Low health.
The rogue had higher hit points than I did.
Yeah. That's actually a funny thing I've noticed is I do like a power build review series where fans can submit their power builds to me, and then I review them, as what the name suggests. But people have been submitting high AC builds, and I've realized there's an easy counterplay to high AC, and that's not hitting them or just get a crit.
Yeah.
and they're done. It's like there's always a 5% chance.
Yeah.
It's so crappy.
But if you're playing like a barbarian or like a straight fighter or a paladin, like the
Mhm.
crit isn't as big a deal because they got the hit points to deal with it.
Yeah, and like then you with your fighter, you can second wind and just get like a bunch of that back. Or if you're a barbarian, like who cares? You can't die.
Yeah,
You're not gonna
you might as
die.
well have a gazillion hit points
Yeah.
anyway. But that being said, we break chops on those kind of builds, but we like playing them. Like they're still fun.
Yeah, they're really fun. I think as well it's like I think like I always find it an interesting challenge to like make a multi-class build as effective at 20th level cuz like at 20th level no frankly no one's beating a level 20 wizard. It's Wizards of the Coast for a reason.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like if you can figure out a way to get that to work. I'm always like, "Yes, I've done it. I win Dungeons and Dragons." That's how you win.
At that point you have wish and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's who cares? The game's almost over.
So Brian Smith wants to know the average level you get done when you play. The optimized builds that go out to a hypothetical level 20 always seem kind of a waste of time to me.
I mean, it's your opinion, man. I like you're welcome to that opinion, and I understand, but but also it's like part of the fun. It's just knowing what you can do. I think the hypothetical, like, what could you potentially do, is a fun thing just to ask and see if you can do it. Like, I wanted to see how much damage you could do in a single turn, and I realized it's probably around 2,000 if you do a single character. If it's and I think that figuring out that kind of also helps me figure out like how this game kind of works. Like
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about how the game functions with power builds. I've learned that funnily enough, high AC builds are surprisingly not tanky because they're never getting hit. So there's no reason for them to unless they're getting critical hits. So it's like their HP is always the thing that they lose on. However, barbarians, they kind of benefit from having a slightly lower than average AC, like an 18 to a 17, because then they're encouraged to be hit and they can actually benefit the party because the dungeon master's like could either hit the wizard who has a potential AC of 30 with all their abjuration spells, or I could hit the barbarian who I know I'm going to hit, but the damage is going to mean nothing. And it creates an interesting problem for the dungeon master. So it's like the hypothetical builds, are they pointless? Admittedly, yes, I 100% agree. But
That's not why we do them.
yeah, I'm not doing that because I'm like, yes, screw the dungeon master. I'm doing it because it's funny to think about. And also I'm like, what does 2,000 damage mean? What does a plus 47 to persuasion mean? What does that imply about the game of Dungeons and Dragons? If you can get a plus 47, what are you saying to this person?
It's
That's
like
so convincing.
It's like the Jurassic Park question. It's like, you know, we instead of asking whether we can do something, we should be asking whether we should do it or whatever. However, it worded, but like that's what we do. I think is content creators is like, well, what can we do? How far can you push it? I mean, because we generally do like 2 builds a month, and we do take them all out to 20. But like the fun part is trying to like do a specific thing. For us, like we like to try and see if we can't complete the build by 10th level and see like, and then everything else is kind of like gravy.
Yeah, if you can, I like 11th level is the level I build to see if like, can you get this done by 11th? Because 11th is like, that's my favorite tier of play is like 11 to 17. That's like, that's when I have the most fun personally. Because that's when like you get all your cool shit. But you can still get absolutely jammed by a random monster. You can still die pretty quickly because your saving throws are typically still bad. Your health pool isn't massive. Like power word kill is still a threat. So like 11th to 10th level, I'm like, if I can build to there, I'm like, yeah, I did it. This is a good one. So
now, is that as a player and GM or just as a player?
Both as a player and a GM, because like you don't really see 11th level too much sometimes because a lot of people like starting at 5 and the campaign never finishes, so you never get to the higher levels. But in the times I have played as a player, I've really loved the tier like the 11 to 17 tier of play. 17 plus I think is just like meteor swarm, and then you're done. It's a little boring, but I really do enjoy that, like that 11 to 17, because your abilities are still not super powerful, but they're still all really useful, and there's some unique ways you can use them.
Or once wish is on the table.
Yeah, the second wish is on the table, you just wish every turn you can, and you're like, I wish them away, but then also you can potentially lose wish forever, but you can still do that.
We did like I ran a holiday adventure, Orcus Claws, for my group. It was only really meant for like third level characters, but they were like 17th level. But I'm like, whatever, it's Christmas. We're doing Christmas stuff, and I'll just figure this out. And I literally just doubled everything on the monsters, and it kind of worked. But like, so like there was this whole section of where you're like getting to the lair of Orcus Claws, and then you get into the lair, and then you have to find and confront them, and it's like a mini dungeon. Well, they just are like, oh, well, Orcus Claws' lair is up there on that mountain. I wish we were over there, and it just like totally skipped that half of the adventure.
That sucks. That's funny.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff at high levels, and that's even without the players getting creative. Once they start getting creative, then things get crazy.
And 5th edition is a really great edition to get creative, because it just enables you. It's the best. Yeah. It just enables you to do really broken stuff super quickly, like instantaneously. You can start doing like super high combo damage with like a contagion hit, and then a hex on the target, and then you buff the fighter with haste, and all of a sudden the monster's I'd just been dealt 300 damage.
So, have you gotten into playing any other non-D&D games?
I played the Fate system for a while, and that was workshopping someone else's. They were trying to make a system branch off of Fate, with like using 3d6 instead of a d20 to roll for skill checks, and it's a weird system. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I feel like I didn't really get a good chance to play it.
Yeah.
But it's a more cooperative story. It's more storytelling focused. It's less about like the war game aspect from D&D's roots. It's more about like the trying to solve the story beat in a way.
The narrative, yeah.
And I've looked at Lancer as well, and I just love the art from Lancer, because the mech robots from Lancer look so cool.
And I mean, come on, mech robots, right?
Yeah. Can't go wrong with a mech. And then my one friend has been trying to get me into 40K for a while, because they realized I like making like complicated sets and builds, and they're like, 40K is the place to do that. I'm like, I know, but also my time will disappear. It will disappear along with my money, because I'll spend all my money on 40K. I can't do that yet, man.
I haven't really seen Lancer yet, which forced me to Google it. Yeah. And like, Lancer is a mud and laser RPG. I just love that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It's super cool. It seems like, from what I've looked from the rule book, it does seem a bit more war gamey, a lot more competitive in a way.
Yeah.
But it's still like a super cool system that I'm interested in looking at. It's whenever I talk about D&D PvP, it's always the system that like gets brought up in arguably every conversation. Like, you should look at Lancer. It's good for PvP. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do it. And then the mech bots were cool, so I was like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Last night I was in a playtest for a game called Grimvast, and it's like it's a sci-fi horror game based off of the Morkborg mechanics, which I've not played Morkborg yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about that, and it seems kind of cool. So that was a lot of fun. It's a D20 system, and it's supposed to be a little bit more brutal, and you're probably going to die. And the concept is like, the universe is kind of being overrun by these things called worms, and they're just basically parasites that infect everything. So it was kind of weird too to like play it, because I'm like trying to like get a feel for the game and the lore at the same time. I'm like, wait a minute. So anyone who gets infected, they're called the Grim, and so they basically can become like jacked space zombies on, worm juice. And so it's like I try to figure it out, and it's like, okay, a couple of my companions were fighting with them in close proximity, so they could have been infected. Like, is this the point where we try to figure out if they've been bitten by the zombie or not? Do we just kind of like off them to be on the safe side? Like, here, let me show you. Look out in that out of this airlock. I think there's something you need to see.
Butterflies, Johnny.
Yeah. So it was kind of fun, and also like I don't know if you're familiar with with Transformers.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
All right, do you know what a Sharktacon is?
No, what is a Sharktacon?
Yeah, so it's sort of like the Transformers movie. So like the art from this game, like the kind of like reminded me of it. Just Google Sharktacon and you'll see.
All right.
And it just reminded me from that, so it just like hit me right in the feels, and I'm like, oh, that looks so cool.
Oh, so it's like a land shark.
Yeah, robot thing, yeah. But so cool. I love when I get a chance to kind of like dig into new games and different experiences.
I actually recently played a game system called Troika, which is like it's designed to be like a pick up and play TTRPG where it's super easy to start a game and then have someone run it. And it's based off of 2d6, and you just kind of like roll stats, roll a character, and in you go. Your name's Gary Goblin Catcher, and that's your job. And then you go out in the world. It was a Kickstarter for a while, and it's a really weird system where it's just like, because it's so pick up and play and simple, all of the abilities are solved super quickly, and interactions are solved just like roll dice, compare. All right, you win. You bonk him in the head with a sword. The goblin dies, But nice. It's super funny, and it's a super weird world as well. So it's like this. It's a really zany little. It's a really wacky system. I'm struggling to describe it, but it's super quick to play as well.
No, I enjoy, like, the older I get, the more I really enjoy simple RPGs. They can just jump in and start playing. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for D&D and a love for D&D. At this point, it's in my DNA, I think. But also, the last thing I want to see is like a 400-page rule book. Here, just read this and we can start having fun.
Yeah, it's a little brutal to get into other TTRPGs. Is like, man, I thought I finished school.
Yeah.
Go back.
Although, I mean, there's a lot of really good ones that are kind of rules light and simple. Like I started running a Monster of the Week game after I basically played 2 sessions of it, and then I did read the book, but it's not a very big book. These are only, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad, yeah.
And also, like, I find with this kind of stuff, like, a bunch of it is player stuff, and I'm like, I'm running the game. There's other players that know how to play the game. I don't need this player stuff. I'll just lean on those guys for the actual rules if I have a question. Mm-hmm. Which works.
Yeah.
So, what kind of content can we expect for you coming up?
So coming up, I'm going to continue to try. I'm continuing to experiment with the type of content that I enjoy making and the type of content that I'm going to be making. I do have a build video coming up, and as a sneak peek, it's one based off of reactions, where you have the most different options to do reactions. So your dungeon master will hate you because every time that they do a thing, you're going to be like, well, actually, counterspell, or well, actually, Cloud Rune, or well, actually. And it's going to be like that every single turn. So look forward to that. And also Dungeons and Dragons skit videos. I've made what kind of made my namesake was this character of the Forever DM who finally got back to playing Dungeons and Dragons and just pulls the most toxic shit you could ever imagine. Just the most toxic builds, toxic player practices. But it's funny because the Dungeon Master who's doing is also toxic. So it's a good time. Just 2 toxic people interacting. And you're like, wow. They suck. So that's kind of what built my skit brand career on TikTok and a bit on YouTube as well. So more of that to come, probably.
Well, hey, at least you get to use that acting degree.
Yeah, apparently. I'm using it. I'm not sure if I am, but it could just be me just doing screaming and piss takes. But that's
Yeah.
what I'm here for.
Well, mainstream entertainment doesn't really take YouTube too serious, unfortunately. Which is weird
Yeah.
too, like because now like some of that stuff, the production level is like professional.
Yeah, some of it's more than most movies. A Mr. Beast video, I'm sure, costs more than some
Oh
film I've
yeah,
seen.
it's insane. Like I've heard he'll spend like 100 grand on the thumbnail, so on figuring that out.
If you have that money, if you could spend it, I guess it's up to you. But it's like,
Yeah.
damn, it's a lot.
Although he just like gives stuff away now, right? And that's his thing.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a while now. He's just like, yeah, I got a ton of investor money here. Here's like five
Just
cars.
it's like a bribe for people to come hang out on this channel.
Yeah, it's
But
like, hey, do you want
apparently it works. It turns out people like stuff and money.
Yeah, people like stuff and they like watching people give away stuff and money because they're like, man, I like wholesome content. I'm a
Yeah.
good person.
Or they like watching things destroyed.
Yeah, that too. Watching people blow up a car and then like, oh my God, my car. And then you're like, here's a new one. And they're like, wow, this was unexpected. And then,
Oh, we had tactical tokens on.
mhm,
And like they make these like vinyl tokens and you can have different things pointed on them or you can draw on them or whatever and they're telling me like the different stuff they've done to test them and are like you can run them over with a car, you can do this, you can do that. I'm like, I bet if you just made a YouTube channel with you guys just trying to destroy your tokens, you'd make more money off that YouTube channel than you do the actual
made up
business.
honestly, probably.
I mean, yeah, why not? You got the guy with the press, right? He just crushes things.
Yeah, the hydraulic press.
You got, there's people that just melt things.
I mean, I used to watch like Mythbusters back in the day just because they would blow stuff up every once in a while, and I was like, hell yeah.
Well, yeah, like when you were in high school, if you were lucky enough to get that one physics teacher that would always try and do things like that in class,
Oh yeah, he was always like this is physics, and then he'd like
blow
light
something up
on fire, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said you're doing some stream games. How many games are you streaming in a week that are being streamed?
So currently, I'm in 3 games a week that are being streamed. So I'm in I do a stream on Mondays on my own Twitch, twitch.tv/offbeat outlaw. And that's the game where I dungeon master. It's called 7 Seas, 6 Idiots. It's based on an island. They got shipwrecked, and they're trying to get off the island. And they've discovered a plot from the old gods to overthrow and destroy the planet. And it's a lot of fun.
It's just Lost. You just turned Lost into your D&D campaign. I know it.
Shh. Oh no, don't give my secrets. And then on Thursday nights on twitch.tv/longshot RPG is a game where I'm a player. That's where I play that build that I mentioned earlier with the Hexblade, Bladesinger fighter thing. It's a lot of fun. That was kind of like the proof of concept that you can play a power build character and still be a cool character and have a good backstory. And then on Saturdays, I'm in a campaign at Lark Network, twitch.tv/Lark Network. I'm playing a monk. I don't like monks. That's that, but it's a fun campaign, and it's with with a bunch of really great creators like Critical Bard's on there, DannyPhantom.exe. I don't know if they know who that is because he's pretty big on TikTok and less so on D&D YouTube. So yeah.
So did you not like monks before that game or after that game?
I've always had a bone to pick with monks because I used to think I liked monks, and then I realized that I just thought they were doing a lot of damage, but they weren't. They're doing.
Is that because you watched the Trent Monk video?
Huh?
Is that because you watched the Trent Monk video?
No, I just realized that because I was like, why am I doing less damage than the fighter? And then I did an analysis of it, and I was like,
because I am.
Because monks suck. That's why they're bad at this job. They're good at other things, just not damage. And then I got, they're just so flashy with the abilities and how they sound. And then you're like, wow, quivering palm. It could do 10d10 damage or kill them. And I'm like, that's 55 damage, which a battle master fighter can do at level 5. Sorry. So,
yeah.
And then or kill them. And it's like what you're gonna be using that on definitely has legendary resistances and will just be saving those for the chance that it fails your save. Because there's not many other abilities that can just outright kill it. So it's going to save it for your thing, which is the threat.
Well, I mean, they're kind of good at getting through. Monks are good for getting through those legendary resistances. Because you just you just keep stunning strike them until they're out of legendary resistances.
Yeah, their abilities are like so like good that the dungeon master's forced to just save their legendary resistances for those abilities. It's like, I can't afford to be stunned. I can be hit by an exhaustion. I can be hit by like this. I can be hit by a fireball, but I can't afford to be stunned. So I'll just save it for that, or like a quivering palm or something.
Yeah,
so.
just do a video on how good monks are. And then you'll see all the Trent Monk people crawl out of the woodwork to come explain to you they're not. You got to watch the Trent Monk video.
Yeah, I've already ragged on monks. I had to make a video called "My Apology to Monk Mains," and it was a build that attempted to make monks good. Because I had a lot of angry monks who were like, monks are good at damage, and I'm like, all right, damage competition, fighter at level 5, monk at level 20. We'll see who wins. Yeah, so. It was a shame.
Yeah, it happens. Although, so there's definitely like weird things too, like, because I know that like one of the arguments, like the counter arguments, well, they're good at stunning and doing that, and like statistically they're not. But I've also been the DM for monks where they've stun locked my villains just because I'm rolling terribly, and like I roll my dice out in the open, so if it happens, it happens. But and again too, like. I still think they're fun to play.
They can be fun. Like I think that they've got a lot of really flashy and cool things. Like the other day in the monk campaign that I'm playing, I got shot at with an arrow that I didn't see. However, you don't need to see where the arrow's coming from in order to use deflect missiles. So he just like caught the arrow from behind him, and I was like, hey, that's badass, you know? Yeah. I hate monks, but you gotta hand it to them. They can be pretty badass. So and I think they've got some cool stuff. It's just like, if you're analyzing them from like a numbers perspective, they're just not good. But they've got a lot of cool things. Yeah.
Yeah, what it is, it's like, there's like all these little tiny tweaks that wizards needed to make them so like their, you know, the deflect missiles, deflect arrows. Like the deflection should just be a little bit higher. They need more key points. And the better monk subclasses let them do more using less points. Because like you probably like, what level is that character?
Right now they're level 7, and I've got 2 levels in Ranger because I'm trying to make a Gloomstalker fighter situation happen.
Yeah. So you like chew through your key points like
the key points
business.
are gone. They're and they're an astral self monk. So in order to even summon my ability, that's point gone.
Yeah, although I will say, like, Astral Monk's one of the better ones because you only need to use that point once to summon the arms, right? And it stays for the full fight.
Yeah, that I will say is definitely very helpful. Astral Self is definitely one of the better subclasses for sure. But like, if it's a shame 4 elements monk isn't better.
And it's the one new players always want to play. They're like, yes,
saw Avatar.
Yeah, I saw Avatar, and yeah, I have a new player that plays one of those, and I just gave them a magic item that just doubles their key points.
Yeah, honestly, fair. If they're a new player, like, and they fell for the monk trap, just help them.
Yeah, my son was playing a game. He was playing a turtle with the 4 elements monk. And I was like, cool, whatever, you can play that. And then he went and talked to Ted. And Ted's like, they suck. They're the worst one. And he came back. He's like, Dad, I want to change my subclass for monk. I'm like, why? It's because Uncle Ted told me they suck. I'm like, yeah, but you're having fun. Who cares?
Yeah. They do suck. But if you're having fun, it's whatever. Like,
it's a game.
Yeah, it's a game. It's all for purposes of fun. Yeah.
So we are right up on the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
Final thoughts. Monks are bad. I think sorcerers are a close second for a controversial opinion.
Nice.
That's basically it.
Sorcerers are way better than warlocks. But with that, until next time, everybody stay nerdy.
All right.